I just know that someone will benefit from this testimony because this is not my doing, it's not our doing, it's God's doing. Because it's one thing to know that God is good when you haven't been through like trials and tribulations. You know, it's easy to say that God is good, but when you have been in the fire, put back in the fire, and you can come out shiny as gold, then you can say like, yes, through it all, God is good. So I'm looking forward to sharing my testimony.
Every day, everywhere. See the word is working, and I'm so full of praise. I testify.
Hello, everybody. What's going on, fam?
Hi, friends.
What's going on, people? We are happy to be back. We're glad that you guys are tuning in, and we are excited today because we have a special somebody in town who has a testimony for y'all, and we're excited that's gonna be a blessing to you guys. So, with no further ado, let's clarify my sister. If y'all watched the Christmas episode, we were fighting over a sister. And that's,
My sister, y'all. At least I'm consistent. You came from your twin to your sister. She's my sister, y'all.
okay. Well,
All right, let's
my twin sister.
look at us. Like, look at us.
I don't see it.
You're a hater, that's why.
Anyways, y'all, we're excited to have her here. She came to spend the holidays with us, and I knew there would be a testimony.
Yes.
And I told her, you can't leave without blessing the people with the testimony. As always, we encourage people to testify of the goodness of the Lord, because the word asked us to do so, and it's only through testimonies that we're able to grow and get delivered and get hope in the Lord, to know that if He can do it for someone else, He can do it for us. Yes. So the channel, as always, is about uplifting people, and encourage you to testify, because your testimony can be faith building for somebody else. And today we hope and we pray that it's going to do that for some of you listening, and we are excited. So, what up, ma'am?
Hi, blessings.
Oh,
Not her
All
coming
right.
into the podcast calling.
we
blessed.
apologize. We'll have to cancel this episode because
It's testifiers, man.
Blesties.
blestifiers, at least, combine the two.
It doesn't
We
work.
are friends. We are blessed.
It doesn't work.
Blesties.
Sorry.
At least for me, when I come in, it will be blesties.
Blestifiers.
This part will be edited. So, all of our testifiers, I welcome you, my beautiful and wonderful twin,
Sister.
Nefti, as she like to call herself.
Yes.
My sister.
Say hi to the people.
Hi, testifiers.
Thank you.
Hi, sister.
Hi, boo. Yeah, hi.
You gonna introduce
Well,
yourself?
ma'am. We're all
Yes,
friends here.
So I am Val's older sister. My name is Neftali, but I call myself Nefti for short. What do I say? What do you guys want me to say?
I don't know. Anything you want
All right,
them to know about
What do you
you
want? Yeah.
before you
Fun
jump
fact?
into the...
Maybe a fun fact about you.
Well, fun fact, we're not doing that. But I am Val's older sister. I am now 36, just turned 36, and a few things about me. I used to be a teacher. I am currently finishing my master's to become a social worker, whenever that is. What else? I love my family. Fun fact, I love my family. I love spending
See,
time
there
with
was
them.
a fun fact.
I love spending time with them no matter what, no matter where they are. I'll do my best to be there whenever I can. I love my nieces, my lovely nephew. He's so cute. I love him. But yeah, I'm here. Well, I was here for the holidays, like my brother said, heading back home tomorrow. But we just wanted to spend the time, take the moment to like share my testimony, because that was one thing that I said. It was one of the promises that I made to God, that when you open the doors for me, I will testify. I want everybody to know how good God is, and how, He used me, and how hard it was. But I can finally say we made it. So,
We have made it
yeah, I hope, I have the strength to share
get
my
through it.
testimony,
We'll
got
pray
to
you
get
through.
through it.
I'll
But
be here to hold your hand.
yes.
We're gonna pray her through it. Yeah.
But yes, I'm here to share my testimony because I feel like someone out there can use my testimony. And one of the things that I love about this podcast, I'm not talking too long, am I?
No.
Okay.
There's no such
It's
thing.
All
your
right.
floor.
No such thing.
The only
says,
thing I'm gonna
says
say.
the girl who'd be like,
The only thing I'm gonna say though, you've been saying your brother. You're making a liar out of me to my testifiers.
I didn't
sorry.
want to point that
It's gonna
out,
get
y'all,
there.
but,
It's gonna get there.
you know.
You coming, my love.
As
You
far
coming.
as they know, you're my sister.
You're right. You're right.
So stop saying my sister.
Yes, my sister. You're right. You're right. But yeah. I just know that someone will benefit from this testimony, because this is not my doing, it's not our doing, it's God's doing. And like I was saying, the one of the things that I love about this podcast is the fact that it allows people to share how good God is, because it's one thing to know that God is good when you haven't been through like trials and tribulations. It's easy to say that God is good, but when you have been in the fire, put back in the fire, and you can come out shiny as gold, then you can say like, yes, through it all, God is good. So I'm looking forward to sharing my testimony.
well, we're looking forward to it, yo. So, a little background. Some of you, we maybe talked about this a little bit. So, we born and raised in Haiti. We were born and raised in Haiti, and we came here in 2003. We were born and raised in church, so that has always been our background. But for me, I can say that, because often we all grow up in an environment. Obviously, it wasn't chosen for us. It was chosen for us. It wasn't our choice. So it comes to a point where a lot of time, you have to make a decision. Do I stay and continue, or do I do something else? And I always tell my parents, especially my dad, I always tell them the greatest gift that they've ever given me was the gospel, and showing me what true marriage looks like, and loving family, and that was always embedded in me. But at some point, I had to make a decision to get to know God for me, because for as long as I can remember, and you can testify, going to church sometimes we had no choice, right? Sometimes we just wanted to play with our friends, but we would get a whooping if we didn't go. So we had no choice. So we would end up going forcefully. So once I got to that age where I had to make that decision, I didn't want to be forced to do anything anymore. So for me, making that decision to get to know God for myself, not because my parents told me, or not because I grew up in that environment, but because I chose to, and that changed my life. And I know people with the same background don't end up having the same story where they're still here, because a lot of people have church hurt or whatever the case may be. But I am grateful that God has kept me and allowed me to have that relationship where I can stand on my own. Not to say I don't need my parents' prayers, but I can stand on my own. So how have that affected you personally in your walk with the Lord? Like I know we all three of us, my other brother, we grew up but in it, but we weren't always in it, so to say. So for you, when when did that become real, in a sense, and did the impact of growing up in that environment had an impact at all, and you staying the path and continue to follow?
Yeah. Like you said, our parents may not have much, but the biggest gift that they could give us was the gospel.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter like if we stop going to church, like the church that we grew up in. It doesn't matter because they gave us that foundation. They planted something in us,
Right.
and we always knew that, to fear God, like that was not something we took lightly in our family, in
Right.
our household. So even though we left church, well, the temple or like the building,
Right.
we didn't leave God.
Right.
And for me, if you can remember, sister, like my journey started back in 2020, right when COVID hit. I was going through some personal stuff, and I decided to, and I think that's the first time I ever like did like fast and give it my all. So it really started for me in 2020, where I was like, okay, you know what? I need to seek God. Like, even though like at the time I was seeking God for,
Different
things that
reasons.
things that I wanted or I thought that I needed, but still that's where the foundation started, like back in 2020. And I can say ever since then, since 2020, I've grown. And I remember I was telling you the other day, and I said, man, where we used to be 4 years ago, we've come a long way.
Right.
It has been a journey, and I can say like last year was the year that really like brought me closer to God. Like end of 2023, really into like 2024 was the year for me.
And why is that?
Because I feel like one, when the year was ending, I said something. I said, Lord, I want to go closer to you. Not just because there's a lot of things that I'm seeking, but like I just needed that. And I feel like also you guys played a big part of like the reason why I wanted to grow spiritually. So and it was just one of those prayers, and I said, Lord, I need to go closer to you. And like it's good to like to be in church and to be like, you hear people testify, you hear people tell their stories, but it's like, okay, we go to the same church,
Right.
we are listening to the same message, like, but
Right.
why are you getting something different that I'm not getting? So I needed to change that for myself. So I'm like, okay, why can you hear from God and I cannot hear from God? Like, if I'm doing something wrong, I need God to like use me and like teach me what I'm doing wrong so that I can hear for myself. I don't always want to be the one that's like, listening to other people testify and I never have a testimony of my
Right.
own. So I think that's where it started for me, like to be like, okay, you know what, God, I need you to do it for me. So, and of course I had to do the work. It wasn't easy at first, but that's when it started for me.
And this is where it's important when we talk about, and I'm glad you put it that way, where you said, we were all listening to the same message, but some of us was hearing and some of us weren't.
Yeah.
And we always talk about that, and some of our episodes where we say, like you have to seek that relationship, that personal relationship for yourself. You cannot count on a Sunday morning service to get you to God, because that's not a relationship. Because there's how many Sundays? There's 52
52.
Sundays in a year. That is not enough time. Just think of it this way: if you only work 52 days in the week, in the year, would that be enough income for you to survive?
No.
Right? So if that would be enough, why why do we think it would be enough for literally the God who's above everything else? Right? So, and you're a perfect example. And like I said, I'm glad you put it that way. So I'm going to ask you, what changed the moment you realize, okay, why are some people hearing and I'm not? What did you have to do that you weren't doing before, or what were you doing before that wasn't working, and what did you have to change and do that started shifting, getting you where you are
I
now?
wasn't doing anything because to me
okay.
it was just like a routine. Like
Right.
every Sunday, if you don't get up, get dressed, and get to that church, it's going to be the end of it for you. Like we didn't have a choice,
Right.
even if we didn't want to be in church, but we had to go to church,
Right.
So it was just like, what I mean by like I wasn't doing anything is like I was not in the word. Like I was not, like if I come from church on Sunday, that Bible will not see me until the next service.
Yeah, we used to only we had a lecture in our service, so whatever was
Yes.
read for that service, that was the only thing that we got fed in that moment, and that was it.
And sometimes we don't even, let me speak for myself.
Same.
Sometimes I don't even have my
I was
Bible.
about to-
facts.
Or sometimes when they're reading, we're not even paying
We're
attention.
not
Exactly.
Listen, that is true.
You know,
So-
because
That
somebody
is
else
true.
is reading for us. We're just like,
Trying to listen, and
Yeah.
meanwhile you're paying attention to a million things happening in
Yeah.
the sanctuary. But so what would you say was that played a key factor in you stepping up or desiring or making the decision to do something about it that you weren't doing anything before, and you have elaborate, please, for the people.
No, it again, when I tell you guys that I am grateful for you, I don't think you guys understand. And again, that's why I love this, because hearing your testimony and knowing who you used to be or who you were and who you are now is like like
was we that bad?
not you, but
They're ganging up on me.
I told y'all she was my sister. Now you
Ganging
know.
up on me, bro.
no, we're not giving. But like to hear you say, okay, you know what, like, okay, I know, like the testifiers, you guys heard the man. Starting from someone that never used to read the Bible will get mad at my sister for like pushing him to be in the word, okay? And he one day decided, okay, you know what, Lord, this is it. Yeah. It's either you step in and you show me what you're all about, or I'm gonna quit.
Yep.
Right.
So to hear that and to see what, like when you said that and where you are now, it's like I come here, or like sometimes I'll be on the phone with my sister. I'm like, okay, where's Val? He's doing his reading, he's praying, and I'm like, okay, So to me, that was my way of because again, you are close to me. It's not just anybody that's telling me, oh, God is good, or like, oh, I'm reading my Bible and I'm experiencing da. No, I have trust issues. Like for me to believe something, like I have to know you, and the fact that I know you,
Yeah.
so and I see the
change.
the work, the change
Yeah.
that God has, and I'm like, yeah, if He can do it,
Right.
maybe I can do it. And you also push me as well,
Yep.
So and I'm grateful for that. So that's why I'm like, my circle may not be big, but the little village that I have, I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
So it was your testimony. It was you, the way you decided to, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try, and you saw what it did, and I'm like, okay, well, if this can happen to my brother, like we grew up in the same household, like we know the same God,
Right.
So that was it for me, and I had to do the work, and like I also love the fact that every time like we check in, Neff, where are you in Bible? Like, are you reading? Like I love that, because it's like You checking up on me. If I want to give up, and I'm like, yep, Val's gonna text me to know where I'm at. I need to get to my reading, you know. So it's really good. So that's what started it for me.
Yeah.
So this is where, it becomes important to have a surrounding that is grounded. I'm grateful enough to have been able to grow and mature. And this is also why we talk about, your obedience can be a door opening for somebody else, right? The things that, because you don't know who's looking up to you, right? So whether you're doing something good or doing something bad, it's gonna influence somebody.
Yeah.
It may be someone close to you, or it may be someone that you don't even know that is, paying attention to you from far. I'm grateful, and one, that I have a wife, that is walking with the Lord, that can also be a support system for me. And now I can become a support system for you and others. I'm grateful for that. And like she said, and she kind of like same thing. I couldn't read the Bible, never read, a full chapter. And now you finished the New Testament. And so when I restarted the Bible, and for last year fast, me and my wife were like, we had a whole plan. We bought like 3 new Bibles that we had a purpose for each of them, and we had her do the same thing. We're like, yo, this is what we're doing. You need to do the same thing. And she hadn't, no question about it. She was like, send me the link. She ordered the Bible. She ordered the stuff, and we kept, checking on her and staying on top of her. And every day I'd like, yo, I just read this. And because we're following the same thing. So I'm like, did you do yours? Blah, 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 blah. And now you're able to finish the New Testament. And for the first time in your life, and you're 36, and it is such a beautiful things to see, when you are intentional about God, what you can accomplish. You know what I mean? Because sometimes we spend a whole day doing whatever. We can binge watch like a 2 season, 3 seasons. And meanwhile, if you only take 20 to 30 minutes a day to read your word, you can get through it, and your life can completely change. And we're starting to see the change in you. And I'm so proud.
Thank you, darling.
And I'm so proud of you, because I've been there, so I know it's not easy. And you could have been like, some people have that, I'm your big sister, I'm this, I don't got to listen to you. That you were obedient enough, and you were open to anything. You know what I mean? And I'm grateful for your life now, and I'm so excited to continue to see the growth and what God is going to be doing for you, and which is why today is so important, because now you have a testimony that I believe that is going to be blessing so many people that has gone through or still going through what you've been going through. And your testimony is going to unlock so much for them, and bring hope in the Lord, knowing that He is able, So that's a good transition. So I'm going to give it to you to testify of, you go and start wherever you want to start, and we'll follow you. So,
Okay. Well,
I got t-shirts ready, yo, just in case.
hopefully we won't use them.
I'm probably going to be the one crying.
Well, my testifiers, the reason why I'm in that hot seat today is
I'm the hot seat.
it is a hot seat.
warm.
Once you're in the middle, you're in the hot seat. But no, truly, God has been good. God has been so, so good. To go back about the introduction, I've been married now for almost 3 years now. So it'll be 3 years in March 17. So when I said that I started fasting back in 2020, that's when everything kind of like shifted. My spiritual life, like me seeking my husband, that's when everything started. 2021. So I started like fasting, praying, and doing all those things in 2020, and then comes 2021, I was like, okay, you know what, God, it is time. But I remember I was on Facebook, and then there was this Christian couple, and they had a fast. It was called Pray for Your Future Spouse, I think it was. So I clicked on the link, and I was like, okay, what is this about? So they were going for like few weeks, and I joined the fast on Facebook. They had like ways to pray and stuff like that. So that's when I really decided to like really pray for my husband, because I was getting older, and I was like, okay, God, what are you doing? Like, I'm tired of like relationships, so I just wanted to like find my husband. Forgot to send my husband, so I decided to go on a fast, and I met my husband on Facebook dating. Thank you, Facebook dating. Well, thank you.
not
Well, thank you, God first, and then thank you, Facebook dating. But yeah, so we met on Facebook dating. It was like challenging at first, not knowing like who you're gonna meet, how it's gonna be, and stuff like that. But like throughout the whole thing, I was like, you know what, God, I'm trusting you. When I find the one, I will know. And I swiped on my husband by accident. Yes, it was by accident. And then he ended up liking me back. So the way it was, if you like someone, they like you back, then you can start a conversation.
Okay.
But I was trying to go back to unlike him, because again, I was just swiping and I just ended up liking him. So, but I couldn't go back. But then when he saw that I liked him first, and he saw my picture, he saw how beautiful I was.
Of course.
So he decided to, send me a message. So we started talking from there. And that's where like everything started really. And then it didn't take long. He came, he met you guys, right from the start. My sister fell in love with him. Everybody loved him at first. And then
I had my reservation.
yeah, of course. You are, you are my brother, of course. Even Sam had, but my sister was like, yeah, I like him, because he came, he was ready to fry bun, like if you're Haitian, those fry plantains, we don't play with those. So he was ready to just remove his jacket and just help in the kitchen. So we like that. So, fast forward to like a year of marriage, then, we went for the year and everything was good. And then come year 2, and we're like, oh. Well, but before that, so we decided, okay, we got married. And then for everybody out there, if you're planning on getting married, don't wait. Don't do what I did. Don't wait for you to like get tested, get all your blood work done after marriage. Get to know what you're dealing with or what you're facing before you get married. So for me, it was, okay, we got married, and then we were like, oh, let's just get all those tests, going. So come year 2, but going back, I used to have, I didn't understand what it was, but like, as a female, if like once you get your cycle that one time, every month it's supposed to be like regular on time, But like for me, it was like sometimes it would be like 2-3 months without having my period. And I'm like, I didn't think nothing of it, because of course I'm not doing nothing, but it's not like, oh, you're pregnant. Like, no. But I never like understood what that was. To me, it was like, okay, you come, you don't come. I'm not doing nothing wrong. I have nothing to worry about. So let's just keep it going. But so when I got married, it started and then it stopped. It was normal, and then it got back to like skipping again. So then that's when I decided, I was like, okay, well, something is wrong, because you're supposed to have, it's like your body cleaning every month, so you're supposed to release that.
Right.
But it wasn't happening for me. So I was like, okay. But at the time, the OBGYN that I had, I felt like every time I went to him, I said, okay, my period didn't show up this month. He would always push the birth control on me. And I'm like, I don't want that. I don't want that. I don't want that. So then I remember talking to like one of my coworkers at work, and then she was like, Nefti, maybe you should look for somebody else. And I was like, okay. Then she gave me a referral of her OBGYN, which was an older lady. And I was like, okay, I'll just go and see what that's about. So I went. And for the very first time, as I walked in her office, she sat down. She asked me, why are you here? And I told her, I gave her like a rundown of why I'm here. My period has been missing for like months and stuff like that. So, and then she stopped me. She was like, all right, before I say anything, we're going to do some blood work. And I was like, that's different. Because for the first time,
Right.
I didn't hear
Nobody-
birth
right,
control.
right.
She was like, okay, well, let's get some blood work done and see what's going on. So we did that. And then we waited for result. I think it took about like a week or so for me to get my results. And then when the result came back, she called me. She was like, can you come in? I said, yes, And she said, you have something called PCOS. And I was like, what is that? I don't have time to like explain the definition. You can look it up. If you have it, you already know what that is. If you don't, look it up, PCOS. But it's like, from research, it's like every 1 in 10 women in America has PCOS.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a fact. And I didn't know what that was. And of course, she didn't really like explain what that was to me, but she was just like, okay, like there's this medication, da 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 da. So I had to do my own research to be like, okay, what is PCOS? So to make it short, for some people, PCOS looks different. For some people, they gain a lot of weight. Once you have PCOS, carbs is not your friend. Sweet is not your friend because you gain weight like that. And losing it's not impossible. It's just not easy.
Yeah.
So for some people, the missed period, which I only had, for some people, facial hair, you gain a lot of weight. And the number one thing they keep telling you is that once you have PCOS, infertility this is it. It's not easy for you to get pregnant. And they will put you on medication and, so once you have PCOS, it's hard for you. It's not impossible for you to get pregnant, but it's just harder for you to get pregnant. So when we found out that I had PCOS, I remember I went home, the doctor, so then the OBGYN now said, okay, so then she asked me, she said, do you want to have kids? I was like, yes. She said, okay. Then she said, okay, well, I'm going to refer you to like infertility doctor. And I was like, I still didn't understand what that was because I'm like, okay, well, PCOS, can we fix that? So then she was like, okay, but there's medication. But I thank God for my husband, though. I give God thanks for my husband. Because they wanted to put me in metformin, which I think I told you about that. Because my sister here, she used to be a pharmacist. So what kind of pharmacy? One of them.
I do the same. I call him pharmacist.
Yeah, you work at the pharmacy.
I used to be a pharmacy technician. You are.
That.
Same thing.
Same thing.
No,
You
not the same.
in my book, it is because you like if we
Listen,
have a medication.
Don't let the pharmacists
We don't care about no pharmacists.
have gone to
No, we
school
trust
for
you.
like 7 years.
No, we trust you.
Listen to you
No, we trust
saying
you.
it's the same thing.
So I told her about it. She was like, oh, yeah, I know this medication. And I'm like, yeah. So they said for me to be on metformin, blah, 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 blah. It had the side effects. So when I got home with my medication, of course, I picked it up. And then I got home, I told my husband, so this is my new medication. He was like, what is this? I'm like, my medication. He was like, you're not taking that. If you know my husband,
Which you don't.
Which you guys
Which
don't.
you guys don't.
But we do.
But let them know.
He's the type, we're Haitian. We believe in like the natural medicine,
Yeah.
which is good. But he was like, you're not taking that. And I'm like, but the doctor said that's going to help. He was like, no, I think I still have those medication in my cabinet. It's been like 2 years now.
We're selling these. Get some money.
They're expired.
And they're not even that. No. They're not the good stuff.
Yeah.
And they're not that expensive.
I am glad I
Oh,
listened
it's
to
okay.
him. I am glad y'all all listened to him. I didn't take those medications. He was like, okay, what can we do? And I was like, well, I think I have to change my diet. We got to do. He was like, okay, this is what we're going to do. And he stepped in. He gave me money, did grocery shopping, and we started eating healthier. But in my mind, I was doing all this because I'm like, you said I can't have kids. I want kids, so I'm doing this to have my kids.
Right.
So, but just like any women out there, I was impatient. Once I hear infertility, once I hear, oh, you have to like be on medication, it's like it's hard for you to get pregnant, and and then your clock is ticking, and I'm like, I don't have time, my man. I'm in my 30s. I gotta do this now. And God is
Pressure
like,
of culture, bro.
yeah, okay, go ahead and do it. So we changed our diet, and I remember I was on vacation. No, before that, I had one of my friends. She said, oh, I have this medication. Before, like, when I couldn't get pregnant, my son, you know, like, I have this doctor prescribed me this medication. I took it, and I got pregnant with my son. She was like, if you want it, I can get you on it. And I even had my mom send money to Haiti to my uncles to get me the medication. Medication came, forgot about them. They had expired, and I was like,
money waste.
just when I was like ready to take them, I checked. They were not good. I was like, okay. So then we were away for our first wedding anniversary. We were at your best friend's house. And I remember packing my clothes, and I put extra pad because when I looked at my phone, and I'm like, okay, while I'm on vacation, I'm going to have my period. So I packed up extra pads. So I'm like, I'm going to be at his house. I don't want to dirty his bed, you know. I went on vacation. Nothing happened. But I was so tired. Like, I was tired. I didn't know what it was. Because, again, in my head, I can't get pregnant because you have PCOS.
Right.
So got back, no period. I was like, okay, something is wrong. So I was like, you know what? Let me take a pregnancy test. Okay, boom. Pregnant. I'm like, yes! Finally! And God is like, no. So I was like, okay. Then, did I tell you guys right away? On the first
You
time?
did.
I did?
Yeah, I think you did.
So I told them, and I think I was like maybe 5 weeks pregnant.
Yes.
Because when I remember that because when I called the infertility doctor, she could only see me if I was 5 weeks. So I went, she checked, she was like, yeah, I see the little, at that time it was like a little chocolate chip. She was like, yeah, there is something there, you're pregnant. And then I was like, okay. And then a few weeks later, I went for another checkup. And then the doctor is like, she was silent. I'm like, is this supposed to be like this? Because this is my first baby. Like, you're not talking to me. Like, why is it so quiet? Then she said, well, it was the nurse. Then she said, oh, I'll have you see the doctor. And I'm like, okay, something is wrong.
It's never good news when you
I'm
hear
like,
that.
I'm right here with you. Just tell me.
Yeah.
So then finally saw the doctor. And then she was like, oh, my God, I'm sorry. But sorry to tell you that the baby... Wait, no. We started, yes, before that. So I didn't take the pills, but then I started a treatment.
Okay.
I started a treatment. And it was so painful, y'all. I don't wish that on nobody. And the treatment was so hard that sometimes it was just stressful because like you had specific time to do it. And you had to like... the things that you don't like, get that needle and just inject yourself in your belly and just so sometimes it would bruise and all that stuff. And I remember one time I went out with my husband. He had to go see a friend, but the medication has to be cold. So God is good, y'all. So I carried the medication with me. So I packed ice and put it in. Come midnight, I needed to take the shot, but we were still out. And I'm like stressing him. I'm like, we need to go. He's like, babe, calm down. I'm like, I need to take the shot today. Because like you had to like take 3 in order. So it was pretty much like forcing my body to like ovulate. So the eggs were not ready.
Right.
But with the medication, it's just kind of like
just
pushing
got
it. you know?
Fertilizer.
Yeah. So that's what the medication was doing. So, so then I remember I'm like, I was so mad. I'm like, we need to go, because it was my last one. And then he was like, okay, you know what? I'll pull over. Just do what you got to do. And I'm like, you're not gonna help me. He was like, no, you do it. He said, because you're stressing me out. And I was like, all right, I want my kid. Forget you. So I was like, I rubbed and I'm like, okay, well, we're ready to go home. Went to the doctor, waited 2 weeks. But I think I did that like 2 or 3 times. And every time she would call, it's always like, I'm sorry, you're not pregnant.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. Then I ended up getting pregnant. And then the baby, at 5 weeks, it was okay for what it was at 5 weeks. After that, 2 weeks later, I had a doctor's appointment. The baby was just like the same. No, it was just literally the same.
No growth.
No growth at all. And then that's when the doctor was like, yeah, your body most likely will reject it. You're going to have a miscarriage. It was the first time I heard the word miscarriage. And then I remember being there and she said, do you want us to do it or do you want it to happen on your own? And I was like, you know what? I did not put that baby in there. I will not touch that baby. She was like, okay, it's going to be painful. But she was like, okay, I'll give you medication. You know, just if you stop bleeding, if you can control the bleeding, then come see me. And I was like, okay. When it happened over the weekend. I couldn't go see her because she was nowhere to be found on the weekend.
Right.
But I took my medication. It happened. I cried.
And I remember, I remember that because I remember we also, you know, it's hard when you're a believer and you have faith for something, right? And the process of that thing happening, if it doesn't work out, it can either push you to the brink of losing your faith, or it can push you closer to God. Because I remember, and I said to you, and I said, I think we both told her, we were like, you know, don't take whatever they're giving you to cleanse your body, because if God truly put that baby inside of you, he can revive the baby.
Yeah.
And that's what we stood on. And I remember we were praying, standing in the gap on her behalf and be like, Lord, let your will be done. Right? So I remember and when you called and said, blood started to come out and we're like, and then we had to be, and again, going back to the importance of having a circle, we had to be strong for her because she was going through it. Emotionally, you need you need people that are strong also emotionally, because if you're weak, you can have people emotionally weak with you. You need people that can stand the test and push for you when you can't.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So it happened, and was it the first fast or was it the second fast?
It had to be the second, because the first one
So,
was still in Connecticut.
All right, so we're not gonna go there yet. So then miscarriage happened in May. It happened in May, and I was like, okay, shook myself up. I'm like, all right, fine, okay, it's over. Cried. But then again, just because that happened, it doesn't mean that we or I didn't have faith.
Right.
Because even if my faith was this much, my circle, the little village that I have, had faith enough for God to bring that baby, to life if He wanted to.
Right.
But then again, what we said the other day,
Timing
is everything.
Timing.
It doesn't mean that you are if you are believing God for something, it's not happening right now. It doesn't mean that you don't have faith. It means that, one, it's not in His will yet right now for you to have it. And sometimes we think we're ready for something.
Oh yeah, we're not.
We're not. So take that time as see it as God is preparing you for what's to come, So then come the fast. And then, so then my brother's church and my sister's church, they were doing the fast. And
Your church too, girl.
My church too, at this point.
You're virtual.
At this point, yes, because that's why I pay my tithes. So at this point, my church too. So when they did their first fast with the church, that's where your testimony like started.
Yes.
And when they started, they was like sharing, pieces with me, not fully, but like, so then I was like, okay, so if they do the fast again, I'll join. So come the second fast, and they invited me, and I was like, you know what, me and my husband will join as well. And we did. It was amazing.
Yes, it was.
It was amazing.
Yes, it was.
It was my first time doing like a first 21-day fasting and just like stay in the word like every single day. And God truly worked last year. And I remember when I started, the first day I started, and I got up at like 5 a.m, and I sat in my living room, and I said to God, I said, Lord, for every day that we wake up, send me something, because I get distracted easily.
Don't we all?
So I said, God, if I'm doing this, I want to give it my all. I said, send me something every single day to keep me grounded. I opened YouTube. I'm just scrolling. First thing I saw is this UK church. And I'm like, I don't know who you are, but what you're saying is hitting the spot. Like, when you're eating food and it's like, this is good.
Yep.
I was like, I took my phone. I'm like, because usually I would wait like till I'm done to share. But I was like, this is too good. So my brother created like a group chat for everybody that joined the fast. So I shared the link. And I said, I don't know, this pastor sounds so good. Like, he's good. Like, just listen. So everybody, and I think, Pastor, that has been a blessing for every single one of us that was in that fast last year.
100%. It's funny because we always talk about, in every season, God always uses a voice to help us in the journey wherever he's taking us. And for us, in the first fast, me and my wife started the fast first. It was certain voices, and it was literally speaking about the move to move here.
Oh, yeah.
And then the second fast, when, again, same thing, we always pray the same prayer, and there were other voices. But, when you share that and we all started following, it was almost, it was literally divine. Yeah. Because every morning, for everything he was saying, everyone was listening to the same message, but was getting different revelation for whatever they were going through in that moment. And it never ceased to amaze me every year, like the voices that the Lord brings and how it literally speaks to certain like specific situation. And it's insane. Yeah. It's insane. Yeah.
So when I shared the pastor with everyone, again, it was a blessing. Every single day, God showed up for every single one of us. And I feel like you benefit from that, Pastor, a whole lot.
I did.
And I'm like, damn, I found him. Like, you're getting all the blessings. But I did get my share, So then I remember at the end of I don't know if you remember this, the last day of the fast. Mind you, like every single day, it would be just him playing music, singing, giving you the words, praying, and all that stuff. The very last day, his wife stood up.
Trying to remember. Yes, I think I remember.
His wife stood up.
She prayed, right?
And she prayed. Yeah. And then, for some reason, the Holy Spirit asked her to pray for women, specifically to get pregnant. Or if you were pregnant, if you had a miscarriage, she was like, Lord, no more, I don't want no more seed to fall before their due dates. So literally she was like, I'm against miscarriages, and then she was like, even if you can't have kids, but use someone as a portal, once that connection hit, even if I can get pregnant, but if Cece can get pregnant, then through Cece's, I will get pregnant. Right. And I claimed that. I was like, Lord, I receive it. And that's why when we did after the fast, so my brother had this like Zoom meeting with everyone, and our cousin Nesta, and she was just like talking. And I think she said something about pregnant. And I'm like, I receive it. And I said, I'm going to get pregnant. I said, listen, by March 17th, which is our wedding anniversary, I said, by March 17th, I will be pregnant. I just said that.
I remember that.
Remember that, right? I just said it, and I was like, I'm standing on that. That's how confident I was in that fast. I'm like, hey, I'm doing it. I'm getting pregnant. So then, of course, then fast forward to after the fast. But then because I knew I had PCOS, I then started like to change my diet. Like I got to a point where I lost a lot of weight, and you said, "Neff, please stop.
Yep.
You look like a stick.
It
Please
was too much,
stop."
bro. It was too much.
I had to get very serious. I'm like, okay, I can do this. Like I give up everything that was good. I gave up, and then this guy was like, "Please stop. You're going to break."
Yep.
I was this skinny, y'all. Like he said, "Please, I'm begging you, no more."
Yep.
So then I was at work one day, and then one of my friend, she's older, and then she said, I don't even remember like what the conversation was about, but she said something in the line like, I think either someone else was talking about kids, and then she said, "Neff, remember I keep telling you," she said, "Girl, go see a doctor. Do what you got to do. Do the treatment they're telling you, because I waited too long for me to do certain things. And now that when the time came for me to get pregnant, it was too late." Mm-hmm. So she said, "I don't want you to go through what I went through. So just get to it." And I was like, I remember telling her right in the kitchen at work, I said, "The next time I get pregnant, I don't want no friends, no doctor, no medication to take credit for it." And I stood on that. But then God has a funny way of slapping you like, "Remember what you said?" So then I got pregnant. And then again, on the second time, I got pregnant the second time. And then, of course, it was again around our wedding anniversary. It's always March. And then the miscarriages always happen around like May. And I'm like, "God, what are you doing? Why are you doing this to me?" So then I remember calling my infertility doctor again, because sometimes like if we don't have like an appointment, so we'll do like a Zoom call. And she was like, like, "Are you like calling to set up like another meeting for like treatment?" I'm like, "No, actually, I'm calling you with good news." She was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Yeah." So she said, "What's going on?" I said, "I'm calling you to let you know that I'm pregnant." She's like, "Oh my God, congratulations. Da, 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 da. What have you been doing? Like what happened?" I said, "Oh, I changed my diet. I started eating healthy. I gave up a lot of things, and it just happened." I should have never said that.
Listen, it's a slippery slope, yo. It is a slippery slope when you're walking with God and things started to happen. You get excited, and all of a sudden, the one thing that you're not supposed to do, you end up doing.
Yep.
What's that, you ask? Taking glory and credit for what God can only do.
Don't do it, y'all.
Then you start giving credit to, like in your case, my diet, this,
Yeah.
and God is sitting in there looking at you like, "Keep going. I'll wait."
Yeah.
And then what happened?
So then she was like, "Okay, da 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 da," So then she said, "How far along are you?" I'm like, "I don't know," but then I put it on my phone. So she was like, "Congratulations, blah blah blah." I was like, "Okay, thank you." So then I went to see my OBG, and I think at that time I was 7 weeks pregnant. And when I went, 7 or 8 weeks pregnant. I think it was like around like 7 and 8 weeks. And this time, the baby formed. The baby had a heartbeat. And she was like, "Yay, second time, yeah, heartbeat." And, she printed the pictures for me. And I remember calling you guys. I'm like, "Did I tell y'all by March I was going to get pregnant?" They're like, "Oh my God, it was so happy." So then the doctor scheduled me for like my 10-week appointment, because I feel like because of my first miscarriage, so she wanted to see me like right away.
Right.
And then, because they usually tell you like 10 weeks, that's when you come in. So then she had me scheduled for the 10-week appointment. So then when I went, again, silence. And I'm like, "We're not doing this." I'm like, "What is going on?"
Right.
I said, like, "Talk to me. Like, what's..." She's like, "Oh, yeah, I don't know. It's hard to tell. Like, maybe I'll just, do the ultrasound another way." And I was like, "Okay, take your time. I got all the day. Like, do your thing, And she checked, she turned. I'm like, you hurting me at this point? And she's like, I was like, okay. Then she was like, the doctor will see. She's like, you can get dressed, the doctor will see. And I was like,
And you're like, again? Here we
Yeah.
go again.
but it didn't hit me yet because I'm like, okay, we had a heartbeat at least. You're not telling me something like maybe
Right.
something is wrong. Like I didn't know at this point, like my baby would be dead. So then I'm sitting there. She's like, oh, Neftali. And she's an old lady. She's sweet, but I'm like, lady, get to it. She's like, Neftali, I'm sorry to tell you, we didn't find a heartbeat today. And I'm like, huh? I said, but I was here 3 weeks ago. Like, what you mean? She was like, yeah, I know, but today no heartbeat. I'm like, what do you mean today no heartbeat? Like, what happened? And she was like, trust me, it's nothing that you did. She was like, that's how miscarriages work. She said, sometimes your body just is not ready. And I'm like, but we had a heartbeat though. I'm standing on we had a heartbeat.
Right.
She said, I'm sorry, my dear. Like, again, do you want us to do the process? Because at that point, the baby this time was bigger than the previous one.
Yep.
So then she said, this one might be a little bit painful. So if you want us to do it, we can. But if not, you can do it at home. And I said, I told you before. I'm going to tell you again. I did not put
the
that baby
in
there.
Yeah, you have to get
Not
out.
touching it.
Yeah.
So I remember leaving her office. I called my husband. He was like, what's going on? I'm like, the baby don't have a heartbeat. I said it just like that. Just drop it on him. He was like, what do you mean the baby don't have a heartbeat? We had a heartbeat like 3 weeks ago. I'm like, I don't know. I said, I gotta go. I hung up the phone. He was calling. I'm like, nope, I'm not talking to you because right now I need to be in my worship mode. I put worship music, y'all. Like you can't tell me nothing about my faith, okay? If it was for faith, this baby would have been here. Put on my worship. And I think my sister knew I was going to go to the doctor's appointment. She said, let me know how everything is going. I said, okay, I'll let you know. Got in the car, put my worship music on. I worshiped throughout going home. I worshiped. I got home. I had this little onesie at home. I got home, got in the closet. I took it, put it on the bed. I laid it on the bed. I was praying. I was worshiping. I did not cry. I worshiped. I prayed on the little onesie. I'm like, Lord, do your thing. And then I called my sister, and then she was like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I break it down to you guys. I'm like, they said the baby didn't have a heartbeat. And Val was like, what you mean? I'm like, I don't know. That's what they said. But I was strong, y'all. I was strong up until my husband got home. Mm-hmm. And he just looked at me, and then like when you can look at someone and he want to say so much, but he's just like, he doesn't want to hurt you.
Right.
And I just bust out. I could not hold back the tears. And I think it was going to be like around Mother's Day. And then Pastor said, so I think you either like said Happy Mother's Day or you said something, and then Pastor stood up that Sunday and he said, even though you're not a mother yet, like, but the fact that like you something like you carried or something like you are a mother.
Right. And
then I remember you texted me and you was like, I'm so sorry, I was so insensitive about like you because like, and then you apologized. You was like, Happy Mother's Day. I broke down even more. I'm like, it's Mother's Day. No, my mother. I was literally going through the miscarriage like in that like weekend.
Yep.
So this time around it was harder again because the baby grew. And then I literally had to like push. The medication they gave me worked, but like because the baby was already like started to form, so it was harder. Like I couldn't pass the blood. So I got to a point, y'all. It's so graphic, but I have to say it's part of the testimony. I was with my aunt on the phone at that time, Tikam, and because she also has been through it, so she understood what I was going through. Mm-hmm. And I remember I'm on the toilet. This big chunk is just stuck in between. And I'm like, and they're like, you have to push it out. And I'm like, I can't push it. And I'm like, it was so painful. And I'm sitting there, I'm looking at my baby hanging. Wow. And I'm like, this cannot be it. And I remember then I called the doctor, and then it was over the weekend. So they have this machine that answers, and then they transfer the call if it's an emergency. And I told them what was happening, and they said, well, but before that, the doctor said, because this baby is 10 weeks old, she said, what I need you to do, she said, it's going to be hard, but I need you to grab whatever is coming out because I want to test it. And I was like, you want me to do what now? She said, yeah, she said, it's painful. It's going to be emotional, but try your best. And I was like, okay. So when it was stuck in between my legs, and I'm like, I'm seeing it. I'm seeing how big it is, but I can't push it. One, I'm emotional. Two, I'm like, this is really happening again. Because the first time I didn't have to go through that. It was just
Right,
blood. But this time around, like, it's like you're pushing a dead baby out of your body. So then I remember my husband was home, and then I was screaming. Because it was so painful, and it was just there. And then he was like, what can I do? I'm like, nothing. You can't do nothing. You can't help me. So I said, grab me. I said, give me gloves. And he was like, for what? I'm like, I have to get that simple. He was like, huh? Right now? I'm like, yes. I'm like, get me a glass bowl too. So he gave me everything. And I remember just pulling, and I could feel everything coming out. I'm like, you cannot tell me I didn't push your baby, because I pushed that. It was so, like, the fact that I had to like grab it and pull it, it did a number on me.
I can only
It did
imagine.
a number on me. I took pictures. I still have those pictures, because sometimes I go back and I'm like, I have to remind myself where God brought me from, because it's easy to just forget. But when you have evidence, and when you finally made it, and to be like, okay, I made it. But like when you compare pictures, to me, that's everything. So I sat there while I'm bleeding. The thing is in my hand. I'm looking at it, and I'm like, I'm wondering, are you a boy? Are you a girl? Like I'm literally holding my baby in my hand. And then he was like, babe, please put it away. And I just put it in a glass, put it in the fridge. I dropped it off the next day. It was Monday. So then they tested it. It was 3 weeks to get the result. Finally, they called. They're like, oh, it's nothing that you... It's always like
It's nothing.
nothing you could have done. Because they tell you, like, when you have a miscarriage, it's not like because you did something you weren't supposed to do, or you ate something you weren't... Like, it's not that. It's just your body. Something is wrong. And I'm like, okay. So then we waited. Results came in. And I'm like, but God, you created this body. You created me. Why can't I, carry this, those kids that you keep blessing me with? I got slapped. Pow. What did you say you wanted me to do? I went back to what I told the doctor, my diet. And then I said to myself, wait, you said the next time you get pregnant, you didn't want no doctors. Nothing to take credit for it but God. But yet you keep saying your diet did this. I was like, I really had to go through this for you to, like, you could have just revealed it to me, like, just remind me, like, But it was hard. It was just like, this second miscarriage was just painful because of the fact that I had it in my hand.
Right.
And, I cried.
It's funny. You going back to, you said that the second time the doctor said, actually both times the doctor said it wasn't anything that you did.
Yeah.
And if you put that into perspective, right? The other side of the doctor saying that, but the other side of that, you are giving credit to everything you were doing.
Yeah.
And it's funny how the doctor, and I'm sitting there wondering, could it be God literally speaking through the doctor, reminding you, it's not anything that you can do.
Yeah.
It's in my hands.
Yeah.
Right?
Could have been.
And I'm thinking, you went through it the first time, and the second time, the baby grew more than the first time, but so did you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because the second time, instead of breaking down and going through all that cycle, you got in your car and you
Yeah,
started
and
worshiping
worshipped.
in the pain.
I remember that because we were on the phone.
Yeah.
And nothing will show you truly your faith than when you're going through adversity. You choose to run away from God and blame him. And I'm sitting here, I'm studying Job again, right? And I'm in I finished chapter 9 today. And literally, as you're talking, I'm reminded of right when everything started happening, from like one person came and told them, your kids died. One person came and said, everything you had gone. After everything happened, he got down on his knee and he praised God.
Yeah.
Said, there's nothing, I came into this world with nothing, and I will go out in this world with nothing.
Yeah.
Blessed be the name of the Lord.
It's so funny that you brought that up because I remember the second time watching you go through it, I did not know how to be in your face. I'm an
I remember
encourager,
that.
okay?
I remember that.
When someone is going through something and I can't encourage, I feel paralyzed.
Yep.
I was freaking out
Yep.
because I'm like, my sister, and I'm telling God, I'm like, my sister's going through this. This is when she would need me to be present, to be calling her and texting her words of encouragement, and I had nothing for you. And I'm like, and two things, God was like, you haven't been through what she's going through. So it's going to be hard for you to counsel or encourage her in the way that
Yep.
that would be effective.
Right.
Then he and I'm like talking to Val, I'm like, I feel like I'm a bad sister. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do, blah blah blah. And then one morning in my time, with God, I wasn't even reading the Old Testament. And he goes, go read the story of Job. And I'm like, why? He's like, read the whole thing. And then at the end, you'll see why. One thing, he's like, sometimes the best thing you can do for someone is stay silent.
Silence with them.
Yeah.
Stay silent. And, and then, like the friends, Job's friends show up on the scene. And when they heard about everything that happened, coming to encourage and to comfort him. The best thing they did was the first 7 days when they did not say a word. After that, and they're like, them trying to comfort or trying to make sense of it, they ended up making it worse, misrepresent God, misspoke, all these things. And then at the end, God had to tell Job, pray for them. And God had to reproach them. You guys misspoke, about me. So I was like, okay, it's better sometimes to stay silent than to misspeak, or than to say something that for you to say things to make sense of it when God is like, that's not what's happening right now. Yeah. So I think, for me, it was like, okay, Lord, I'm just going to pray for her. And I was just like praying. And sometimes when I'm praying for you, I'm like, Lord, when it's something is natural in you and you can't do it, it's like so hard. Yeah. I'm like, Lord, give me a word for her. God is like, nothing. There's no word.
It was hard.
And I think, maybe from your perspective, it could have been like, okay, I'm going through this, and, the people that should be, lifting me up, you don't see them. We were there. Yeah. We were not allowed to say anything. Yeah. Because this is not the first time someone is going through something and I'm like, God, give me a word. And God would literally give me a word. And this time he was like, nope. And he sent me to that story. The best thing you can do is stay silent. Yeah. Just pray for her, but you don't get to say anything. And I think it goes also to your prayer. You didn't want anyone to take credit for any of it. So you had to go through this with God. Yeah. Just him.
Yeah. And also, I remember while I was going through the miscarriage, it was around the time where like my grandma turned 95 and the entire family was supposed to travel to Miami. Yeah. We were all supposed to travel, and I got the news the week of, because we were traveling like over the weekend, and I did not tell my parents because I didn't, me going to the, my grandma's birthday party, because, she's getting older, she's sick. So we really like wanted to like have everybody there just in case if God wanted to call her home. But we wanted all the grandkids, great grandkids to be there, So I didn't want that to be like a sad moment while we're just going to like have a good time. So I kept it to myself. And I remember when we got there. So one thing I never told you, and I finally told my husband the other day, we were watching the new movie, the Mary movie that just came out. So we were watching that, and then there was a part in the movie where like Mary went to meet Elizabeth, and then when John was still in Elizabeth's belly and stuff like that. So I told him, I said, I'm gonna confess something to you. He was like, "What's that?" And I said to him, I said, when they told me my baby didn't have a heartbeat, because do you remember when we did the fast the last day, how Pastor Ty's wife stood up and prayed, right? Yeah. So then she said something about like you can be like
someone who's pregnant can be a conduit.
Yes. So me going to Florida knowing that my baby didn't have a heartbeat,
and I'm going to announce,
she's going to announce to my parents that she's also pregnant, because at the time we were both pregnant.
You know how hard it was? I was like,
it was.
Did I ask you? I remember asking you, maybe I shouldn't do it, and you're like, don't do that.
Yeah. I told her, listen, it's your good news. Share it with everybody. So she was going there because my parents didn't know that she was pregnant again. So then she was planning on telling them at the party that she was pregnant. Yeah. And meanwhile, they know that I'm pregnant, but they don't know that my baby heart didn't stopped beating. So then I'm thinking, so as I'm going and they were driving, and I was like, in my head, I'm like, I have hope. And my hope was when I see my sister, little John, will me little Jesus.
One will dance. Someone will dance. Yes. There's going to be a dance party.
Since mine is dead, once I hug her, the connection will just transfer. That's what I went believing in. And I think that's why it was so hard for me when you came to me. I was sending, after I hugged her, I'm like, I don't feel nothing, Lord. I said, maybe, the baby's still young. I'm not going to feel nothing yet. But I'm like, there's life. Because I hugged my sister.
Wow.
Because I'm referring to Elizabeth and Mary.
Yeah.
So then I was standing, and then you came, and you like, you okay, love? I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm in my feelings, because at that point it was just you guys that knew, and nobody else knew. So he came in to check on me, and then he was like, please tell me how you're feeling. And I said, do you really want to know? Do you remember what I said? No. You don't remember what I said? I'm gonna smack you right now. But we're not gonna do that. I said to you, I feel like God is teasing me. Remember that?
Yes. I remember that.
You remember that?
Yes.
That was my answer, y'all.
Yep.
I said, he looked at me, he was like, huh? What you mean? I said, yeah, I feel like he's really teasing me. And he was like, do explain what you mean. I said, he gave me the first baby, he took it. The second baby had a heartbeat. Now there's no heartbeat. I feel like he's just teasing. He's just giving them to me and taking them away, giving them. He was like, the God that we serve is not that type of God. He went on and I'm like,
I went in,
I'm like,
I had to set it straight because, again, going back to Job, at some point he went on a rant.
Oh, yeah.
My man was cursing the day he was born.
Oh, yeah.
He went on the rant, and I feel like this is what
he prayed for abortion. He prayed for miscarriage.
Literally
he prayed
every
for all
single
the
thing
stuff.
that he wished he was never, he never seen the light of day. Right? So for me at that moment, thinking back now, and that's why it's good sometimes, again, when you read the word, you know the character of God, and you know how to apply that. Because if I didn't know the story of Job, I would have been Job's friend. But at that moment, because I believe who our God is, and I was like, I ain't about to let you go down that path. Yeah. Not on my watch. I went. I give a whole sermon, yo. So I just set it straight, and I'm glad I did.
I'm glad
Again,
you did.
sometimes there's a there's a place and time for certain things, but sometimes you also have to stand for what you believe in, especially when, again, when someone else is weak. If you're gonna be that strength, whatever that moment requires of you, you have to be that for that person.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm like, I know you're hurting, but you're still gonna get this truth.
Mm-hmm.
And in the process, I'm gonna sit there with you and hurt with you.
Yeah.
But I'm still gonna tell you what
Right.
what it is.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah,
I remember
needed
that.
I needed to hear that. Once he said that, I was like, you know what, Lord, I remember leaving, the table. I'm like, Lord, I'm sorry. I'm like, don't mind me. I'm in my feelings right now, Lord. But it's really good to have people next to you that can remind you, like, it's not always going to be easy, y'all. It's not going to be easy always, but I am grateful for you too. I'm grateful for my best friend Tisha also, because like sometimes I just want to quit. I just want to give up. I don't know. It's the human side of me. It's just hard, because it's like you have all the faith and you do everything. And,
Do you remember what I said to you one time? I think the second time when that happened. Do you remember what I said to you?
you said so many things. You can talk a lot. I don't know.
I think I referred to the story of Job, and I remember that pastor that came and preached.
Yes.
And I said to you, and I said, look,
You're
I
being
know
considered.
it's not
Yes.
easy.
Yes.
I said, I know it's not easy,
Yes.
and I know the pain is real, and nobody can take that away from you. But I said to you, have you ever
Yeah.
thought about that you're being considered?
Yeah. When he said
For
that,
what
y'all,
you're going through.
I ain't gonna lie. I was just smack him, because I'm like, why you gotta be on the Lord's side to
Listen.
use me? Why not use somebody else?
Because I'm like, the Lord told Satan, have you considered my servant Job?
Yes, indeed.
And I told you, I said, whatever you're going through, find the strength and the courage to look at from that scope.
Yeah.
That the Lord is considering you because He believes what He puts in you, and because He know you can endure it. And at the end, not only you will grow, but here you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Someone in that screen is gonna get encouraged by your testimony because you stuck through. You didn't curse God and turn back. Your faith carried you through.
Yeah.
And now here you are.
Yeah, and you also said something too. You said, maybe God is using your story for somebody else.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I'm like,
and I
why
said,
does it
yep.
have to be
I said to you,
real?
listen,
I think-
sometimes it has nothing to
Yeah.
do with you,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
And that's the last thing you want to hear when you're going
Yeah.
through something.
Exactly.
Not only God is saying, you got this, or I love you.
Yeah.
Because sometimes
I know
that's
you're
all
going,
it says.
I know
you.
you're going through this, but I love you.
Judas.
I'm not gonna fix this right now. I just love you.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's like, and you have people, instead of joining your pity party, and these
Yeah.
people are saying, "Hey, God just chose you for this for a reason."
It's
All
good to know. Yeah. It's good to know that sometimes too, God will use your story, the good and the bad,
And the bad.
for His glory.
Yes.
The good and the bad.
The
and,
good
and,
and the
and
bad.
that's what Job told his wife, because she was like, why don't you
Curse?
just curse your God
Yeah.
and die? And his response, which was so profound to me this morning, because that's what I read, Job was literally like, yo, should we only consider the good things that He's given us and not consider adversity? Because sometimes in our religious self, that's what we make Christianity in the relationship with God. Like He's some genie in a bottle, and all He does is give, that He wants you put you through to the test and to the ringer to grow. That's the only way you grow, is through the fire.
Yeah.
When we sit, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know if it's because we just had a good meal, or we're caught up in a good moment, and we would say things that are so deep and so spiritual, like, Lord, when I do get pregnant, I want you to get the glory, nobody else. These are the things
Oh, He remembers.
Yeah.
that He's like, bet
I'm gonna test that theory.
I will test that.
Yep.
And testing that will never be easy. You know, sometimes like just like us, we're like, God. I remember when we decided we don't want to date anymore. Let's get married. We had nothing,
Literally.
not a dime. And God just, made it happen because we got on our knees and we said, Lord, we want to do this to glorify you. So, starting with our marriage, starting with our lives, marriage and children, let everything that we do and everything that we have glorifies you. Yeah.
And
The journey, the journey, and I think we're still on that journey.
100%.
It's not easy.
Nope.
So you can't just say these things if you don't mean them.
Yeah.
So he had to put you through this.
Yeah, he had to. Because even like when we did the fast and, and again, if it was for money, if it was for prayers, if it was for faith, I would have like
10
two
babies
right
already.
now, So, because we all believe, and I remember when we did the first fruit offering, and Pastor asked to write what you are believing God for. Again, people, even if I didn't have the faith, you had it.
Yep.
You had it. Everybody else that did the fast, my parents had it for me. Why didn't it happen?
Yep.
And I remember I couldn't decide what I wanted him to put on the envelope for me. And he just
And I said, I got it.
put his message on it. And then he sent it to me. I'm like, bet. That's what we're going to do.
Yep.
And then by
was
March.
December 31st last
that was
year.
December. And I was like, okay. And then the miscarriage happened. And I'm like, what is this? Come on, man. We've been there. But one thing was just, I'm grateful for like growth, spiritual growth.
Yes.
Because like, and there's one thing I'm confident in, like, no matter what I go through, I know the God that I serve. I know he would not just put me in the fire just to put me there.
Yep.
I know once I'm in there, it's like as gold. The more you put it in the fire, when you take it out, the shinier it gets. That's me, So, and I feel like that's the reason why I didn't lose my mind when it happened the second time, because I'm like, okay, this time around, I messed up. Nefty, you messed up. You didn't keep your word or whatever, but God is testing you.
Yeah. But another beautiful thing was, and we say that often, if God puts you in a fire, right, whatever you're going through, if he puts you through it,
Yeah.
if by your faith believing, there's a timeline to come out and you don't come out, right? Just because you're not delivered from that situation in that moment that you thought you were going to be delivered, doesn't mean he's not with you.
Yeah.
And the whole time he was with you
Yeah.
and all that.
Yeah.
And all he was waiting for is for your words to align with your faith. And that was your problem.
Yeah.
Because you had faith, but you kept literally crediting the wrong thing
Right,
instead
right.
of the one thing
Right.
that could do the impossible.
Yeah. And man, we went like through the summer, like it was hard, but one thing was never shaken is the fact that I stayed in the word. Like every churches that had like revival or what, I didn't need to be a member. You asked for a first fruit offering, believing God for something.
You had it.
You ask for whatever, because me personally, I'm a giver. Like if everybody knows me, you say Nefty, I got you. If I know you need something, I'm not gonna wait. I give.
She's the spoiler.
I am.
And I be on her about that, because I'm like, listen, people will purge you because they know your heart.
She's the one who'll get mad at you for not taking anything from
Yes.
her.
Yep.
She's that
She's
one.
I'm
that
that. I'm
person.
that. So when it comes to like God and God's kingdom,
Yep.
things that need to be done financially, if I have it, best believe I'm going to send it.
Right.
I don't need to be a member in that church. And that's why like different churches, and I was talking to my best friend over the weekend, I'm like, I don't know how many first fruit offering I've given. My husband's going to kill me. You can edit that part, right? But anyway, like it's not just because I know, like by giving
Giving,
the
you'll
money,
get
I'm going
something,
to
yeah.
get something. No, because everything that I have comes from God.
Yep.
Like
It's His.
why am I going to be stingy with
It's
God?
His.
Like no,
It's His.
if I'm at a church or if I'm watching service and they ask for something, I don't give it. No, I don't have it.
Right.
Because if you also know me, I like to spend money for no reason. So
She
I
does,
find
yeah.
ways to like, okay, instead of buying this NFT, you don't need it, give it to God, So I'm always giving. So that's why, like, for me, this year was a year also of just, like investing in God financially. I give several,
Spiritual
you know,
generosity.
I give a lot. Like this year to me has been the year where I've given the most in my entire life. And it's not just because I needed to get pregnant. No, it's because everything that comes in my hand, if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have it. So why am I gonna hold so tight to like I'm not gonna give it to you? No, you can just snap a finger and you take it.
Yep.
Like instead of you breaking my neck, no, you can have it. So I thank God for that also, because like it's not just about praying, but like that was my way of just sealing, like just plant a seed on the ground, because I'm trusting God for something, and just that's me thanking you because I don't know what else to
what's to
give you, like I'm giving. This is what we like we like to hold on to our money. Our money is our money.
Yeah.
Don't come for my money, so I release that, and I'm like, Lord, as a sacrifice, as a as a seed, I'm planting this. And every time I would do that, I'm like, I'm planting this for my future children. Even like when I did Pastor Carlos fast, I mean, he had like 15 days to end the year, and then he was like, give and do like a sacrifice, give an offering as a sacrifice. And then he was like, if you're trusting God for your kids or whatever it is, he was like, put it in their names. And I was like, I got my phone, 366, you said, done for my kid. Because sometimes you just have to give something as a grateful heart. If you don't have money, by all means, if you can praise, worship, do that.
But again,
You know?
it's never about the money.
Right. It's never about the money.
It's always about your heart
Yeah.
and where your heart is, because the story in the Bible when he literally pointed to the disciple and said, "Look at that lady.
Yeah.
She's giving 2 mites or whatever it was that she had.
was much greater.
Meanwhile, there were all these
Yeah.
charlatans that had money just giving it, and he's like, but they're giving all that money. It doesn't hurt them.
Yeah.
She only had 2 coins,
Yeah.
and she gave. That's all she had.
Yeah.
So it's always about the
I've
issue
been
of
there.
the heart, and never about. And for you, I believe,
Yeah.
Every offering that you have given, right? You didn't do it to get something,
Right.
but the Lord will redeem every single one of them for everything that you're believing for, and your kids will benefit from that because of your heart, not because of the amount that you gave. So, I know offering and giving is such a sensitive issue for
yeah.
people, but when you understand God and the way His hands, the windows of heaven, and everything is literally open, He's always ready to give to you. When you understand that,
You'll give everything back to
listen,
him.
there's nothing you're gonna hold on to. For what?
Yeah.
When you die, they ain't gonna put all this money in your coffin.
Yeah.
Anyways,
But yeah, so it's good to like remember when you seeking God for something, remember what you say, because He always gonna bring you back to your words. Always. And He's been doing that with me, because even when I said next time, I told my husband literally after the second miscarriage, I'm like, next time I get pregnant, I don't want to be a teacher anymore. I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher anymore because it's so stressful and all those things. And what happened? For someone that's been working at a place for like since 2008, now this year all of a sudden, I'm doing everything wrong. Yeah. God is like, you said it, my dear.
Because, and I said that to you the other day. You could have been like, okay, now it's not the good time because we're going to do this and that. And then we're going to need money, blah, 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 blah. And God is like, oh, no.
before
Let
you
me
find the excuses,
let me just help you out.
Yep.
You know? And sometimes, and that's what I'm saying, sometimes when we pray or when we declare things and it happens, it comes to pass the way we say it, it's not because we said it. It's not because we speak something into existence. I think
It's
the Holy Spirit kind of like
Inspiring.
inspire us to say these things just to agree with heaven.
Yeah.
And that's why it happens exactly the way. Otherwise, everything that we speak of would happen.
Yeah.
Right?
Facts.
If it was
I
an
need $1 million
us thing,
right now.
right?
Yep.
But the specific things that we would say, and then they would happen exactly the way. I have so many like instances where sometimes I don't even open my mouth, guys. I would like in my head say, God, I would like for this to be that way and this way and that way.
Yeah.
And then it happens and I'm like, ooh.
Maybe I should next time I should ask for $2 million.
That's what we
And
said.
then you ask for the $2 million and never happens.
Okay. 3 years ago, 2 years. When did we go to DC? 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
We went to DC and then we took a picture together. But the way the set was when we took the picture,
Oh yeah, that is our
it literally looks like a
podcast.
yeah. And then I remember we
yeah, I remember
posted that
that
picture.
We made a joke. And
We
said
posted the picture and we
something
put
coming soon or
yep,
something
and
like
we
that.
put podcast and then question mark.
Yep.
What me? It was just like we just said it, and now here we are.
Yeah.
It's not because we sat and thought of it, and back then podcast was like fairly new, like they were just coming out with them, and and I'm like, now here we are. And there are a lot of things that we talk about. Val and I talk about, not having to work all the time and not have time for, kids and all these things. And here we are, doing things together. That was always things that would speak of.
Yeah.
But to me, it was just all inspired.
Yeah,
And sometimes God will inspire you to say things.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. So, so to go back to after the second miscarriage, I remember I texted you. I think around that time, my husband's sister-in-law was pregnant, and she was looking for like a new OBGYN or something. And I asked you about the one that you had, because also I was looking for another one because I feel like mine is old, and I just didn't like every time I would go and it would be just silent, like no conversation.
Yeah.
So then I remember asking you about, do you know somebody? And then you said, oh yeah, the one that delivered my first daughter. And I was like, okay, give me the information. And you did. So it was hard to like book an appointment with her. And
Oh, yeah.
I finally
Virgil,
did.
that's popular.
Because I think I had to wait like a good 3 months before I could meet her.
Mm-hmm.
And when I finally got in, I went to see her, and then of course after the second miscarriage, they had to do like a lot of like blood work, genetic testing to see like if it was me, my husband, everything, thank God, was normal. Like there was nothing on either side that could cause this to happen. And she had me do like some other blood work, and then she said to me, she said, I'm looking at your chart, and then because she had me transfer all my test result, and she said, I noticed something. And I said, what is that? She said, every time you would get pregnant is around the time that you lose weight. And then she said, you have PCOS, right? And I said, had. Because I'm like, when we did the fast,
That's one thing you're praying
that's
for.
one thing
Healing.
I said, Lord, I need you to heal me from PCOS, because I am tired of people saying that, you can't cure PCOS, or like you can get pregnant while you have PCOS, and all those crazy stuff that comes with. And it's not just PCOS. While we are on the topic of PCOS, there is cysts, there is fibroids, there is polyps. There's a whole lot of different things with different names. That means the exact same thing. Once you have it, it's hard, not impossible. But even though they're like, with polyps it's impossible for you to get pregnant, says who?
Yeah.
Says doctors, not God, you know? So For my testifiers, don't let doctors define your future, because what God has for you is yours. If it's in God's destiny or will for you not to be a mother, you will not be, because He might have other plans for you. But if it is His will for you, you will have
doctor
tons
comes
of
in the way.
kids.
Yeah.
You know, because what is impossible to God?
And whose report are you gonna believe?
Yeah.
go.
You know? So don't let doctors, because it's their job, because if you don't have the sickness, where is their money? Because one thing we also talked about, doctors will not tell you to change your diet, eat healthy, go on a walk, exercise. They will not tell you those things. But instead, they'll be like, okay, yeah,
There's this
this
medication.
medication that you can take that can fix that, or that can, give you like
Never tell you the side effects.
Yeah. And one thing is, you take those things, it might fix one thing, but it's
then
going to
create
create something
another
else.
problem, yes.
And that's why I'm grateful for my husband, because he was like, you're not taking no medication. And I did not. So going back, when she said that to me, I said, yeah, I kind of noticed that too, because, once I changed my diet, and it is true, once you change your diet, I don't remember the last time I had a missed period unless I was pregnant. So once you change the way you eat, your body get used to like, okay, it's clean, it's healthy, it's gonna do what it needs to do. So I can't remember when it was. I can't remember the month that I went to see her, but I know I was going on vacation in October. No, my vacation was supposed to be in September, but we had a party for my dad and my mom. So I ended up pushing the vacation for October. But I think I met her like maybe 2 months before, like prior to September. And then she said she told me, because it was like after my miscarriage too. Because the miscarriage, when was Grandma's party? April? Mm-hmm. So miscarriage happened around like May. So I probably saw her like May, June, July. Maybe around like July, maybe. I saw her. I can't remember. But so she said to me, she said, okay. She said, do you want to try again? I'm like, I'm like, when it happened, it happened. I'm like, I'm not going to like focus on getting pregnant right now. I'm like, at this point, I've tried. I'm like, listen. So then she said, when I see you again, she said, I think at the time I was 145 pounds. And she said, the first time you were like around 120, 125. The second time you were like 130. And then she said, just lose 15 pounds. She said, lose 15 pounds and then come see me. We can start working on plans of, for you to get pregnant. I was like, all right. I said, no problem. But she's sweet though. I love her. Mm-hmm. So then I left and I got home. I told my husband about what she said. And he was like, okay. So in my mind, I was going to start my diet again. But then I was like, two things that came in my mind. I was like, one, I'm going on vacation. I'm not going to be on a diet while I go on vacation. Then I said to myself, the fast is coming up again in December and in January. So, because we usually like give up carbs, sweets, all those things. So I'm like, that'll be my way. Because in my head again, I'm like, hey, we're going to get pregnant in March again. Because it's always around that timeline. Because fast and in January, February, you have period, March, boom, pregnant. So then, didn't do the diet because I'm like, I'm going on vacation. I'm going to enjoy myself on vacation. When I come back, I'll put myself on a diet. What diet?
God is like, yeah, right.
It was in your head.
God is like,
God is over there
didn't
like,
you say
she's funny.
when you get pregnant again, no one
You'll be able to take credit.
will be able to take credit. And I'm glad it happened the way it happens.
Yes.
I am so glad. So, y'all, I'm not going to keep you guys long. I am pregnant. Woo! I am pregnant, y'all. But before this, I was like, you know what? When I come back in October, I'll put myself on my diet. So we went on vacation. We had a good time. And
They had a good time.
We had a good time. Listen, that was the best vacation.
Me.
Best vacation. But then again, it's to show you that like when you say something, God will literally use what you say and really test you. Because when I came back from vacation, it was like what, end of October, and I went back to work. All of us, I went back to work the next day. I was calling a meeting, and I'm like, I just got back from vacation, and it was something about, oh, parents are complaining about you, and I'm like, what? I've been here for how long? What they have to say? Oh, well, you don't speak to them. You don't, well, and most of them are Spanish. I don't speak Spanish. So now all of a sudden you want me to speak Spanish. Okay, fine. So then I called my husband. He was like, Nefti, put in your 2 weeks notice. And I was like, you want me to do what now? He said, put in your 2 weeks notice today. I went, typed it up, sent it. Boom. One. I said, when I get pregnant again,
You don't want to work
I
at the
don't
school.
want to be at the school. I don't want to teach anymore. And like you said, it would have been like, because even my supervisor asked me, she said, can you wait until like end of the year? I was thinking about it, but then it would have been like, oh, now that I have,
Now
a
that
kid
you're
on the way, like
pregnant,
I
you
can
got
use
that
all
shit,
that money. And
Yep.
God is like, no, you said when you get pregnant,
No one will take credit.
no one will get credit. And also, you
you
don't
won't
want to be at the school because what you don't know is dealing with preschoolers, a lot can happen. I almost fell at work because they were just running and trying to I almost fell. So it wouldn't be
And
like
you
a
didn't
good
even know you were,
environment,
right?
it wouldn't be a good environment for me. So when I found out that I was pregnant, I was like, oh, yeah, we leaving. So I put in my 2 weeks, left. And then, so we came back, didn't lose no weight.
Did you gain weight?
I gained weight. I'm on vacation, y'all. I happen to be in my mother-in-law's room because she has a sky. I hop on. I'm like 152. I got a lot of work to do because I was 145 when I left. I'm 152. I was like, oh, you know what? No problem. I'll do it when I get there. Fast is coming up. So again, I was supposed to have my period while I was on vacation. But then I'm like, wait, I didn't have my period. But then again, in my head, I'm like, okay, sometimes it does that. Like, it'll be like a couple of days late. I'm like, all right, I'll have my period. Girl, no. Sis didn't have a period. God was like, not only that, you didn't need to lose weight. You're not going to need your job. You're already pregnant. You just don't know it yet.
Yep.
I was on vacation, having a good time. When you're on a resort, everything is free.
Yep.
From food to drink,
Yep.
free. That was me. I was living my best life in October.
You're gonna have a fifi in your hand.
I was drinking, I was dancing, I was living my best life. I was already pregnant, not knowing that I was pregnant. Then we came back from vacation and it hit, boom, your period is still not there. And I said to my husband, I'm like, I didn't have my period. But I had one of my little cheap Dollar Tree, well, they're $1.25. They're good though. I had one in my room.
In case you had doubts.
They work.
Dollar Tree, we're taking
pregnant.
sponsorship. Thank you,
They work.
management.
Yes.
So I took it. I went to the bathroom. We were watching a movie. I didn't even tell him I was going to take the test because I'm like, you know what? In case. So I took it. I went in the room, took it. Before I could put it on the sink, it was already positive. But in my head, I'm like, maybe it expired. It's Dollar Tree. Maybe. It's not good. So I said, babe. He was like, you okay? I'm like, come here. He was like, what is it? I'm like, come here. He was like, can you just tell me what you... I said, I'm pregnant. He just ran. And I'm like, look, I'm pregnant. He was like, we're pregnant. I'm like, but wait. He was like, what? I'm like, go to CVS. We'll get me another test. I'm like, a more
Just in
expensive
case.
one. I'm like, he was like, now? I'm like, yes, go now. So he went, got me the test. Same thing. By the time I peed, before I put it positive, I was like, yes, we're pregnant. And I was like, I had to go in the room for a minute. I'm like, Lord. I started laughing. I could only laugh. I'm like, yo. And I'm thinking, I'm like, yo, I didn't get to lose weight. I was drinking on vacation. I left the school like, I'm pregnant. I'm crazy, y'all.
But you know, going back to God will use what you say as far as your faith and what you believe to test that, and also to prove that he's sovereign, right? Because you said, right, you didn't want nobody to take credit the next time you do, and the doctors, they have to do their job.
Yeah.
So you were 145-pound, and based on your previous ones, she realized your weight was low.
Yeah.
That caused you to be pregnant. So her diagnose, right? Her professional opinion was, hey,
Lose a
let's
couple
lose
pounds.
15 pounds.
Yeah.
And God's
Come
like,
see me.
but if you lose 15 pounds,
That would be
that
you.
doctor's gonna say, I told you
Yeah.
to lose 15 pounds.
Yes, sir.
How about you get more pounds?
Yes, sir.
So she could look at it and say, how?
Yes, ma'am.
And then for you this
Who?
time to say,
You better say.
my God did it.
My God did it.
My God.
My God did it, y'all. I can say by the time you'll see this, I will probably be like 6 months pregnant.
Yes.
But God did it.
God did it.
And no one,
Can take credit
no
for it.
medication. I even told you the other day, because like they always tell you, like, even though you're not trying to get pregnant once you're like in your 30s going up, take your prenatals. I stopped taking my prenatals. So I can't even say my prenatals were working.
Nothing.
I gave up on those.
Nothing.
Nothing can
Nothing.
take
I
credit
gave up
for
on
that.
those.
Nothing at all. I didn't get to take no prenatals. I didn't get to lose no weight. I didn't get to do no treatment, no medication, nothing. And that's why when you were talking about a friend, and even though I couldn't tell, well, you already knew because sis is a dreamer.
I be
She
dreaming.
had the dream that I was pregnant. But because also the fact that you also said next time you get pregnant, don't tell nobody. You know?
Listen, I think that was more for my heart. I
Yeah.
think God really didn't want me to feel some type of way.
You struggled though.
And
did.
Sis
I'm
struggled.
like, is this really not gonna tell
Yeah,
me?
because we
I know.
knew-
In my dream,
Yeah.
I told her not to tell anybody, but I'm not anybody. So what is she really not gonna tell me?
Yeah, every day I had to be like, babe, just let her come and tell us. Good
I'm
news,
like,
we
you're
already
eating like a
know.
pregnant
Just
woman.
let her come on
I'm
her
like-
own terms.
The way you're sleeping when you're pregnant, nobody will find out.
Yeah, that
like,
was
I'm
that
just
was
fishing.
hint
I'm just
to
fishing so
kinda
she can be
catch
like,
the-
you know
yeah.
what?
Nope.
Nope,
Nothing.
She told me not to say anything, people, so I
That's true.
didn't. But, like, to go back, and we were talking about, a specific friend of
Mm-hmm.
yours, and you said, something related to PCOS, and I had to, like, kind of stop you, and I
Yeah,
said, no.
yeah.
I said, you can reverse PCOS. Doctors are not going to tell you that, because for myself, when I found out that I had PCOS, I had to do my own research, and
Yeah.
I followed a lot of like people, like even doctors themselves, that tells you like now they have 3-4 kids because they stopped doing certain things, they stopped eating certain things, so now they're able to get pregnant. Doctors are not going to tell you that, but you can reverse PCOS. And also, don't just focus on like what doctors are saying. Like, go to God, ask God, like, I know you, use me, you did it for Nefty. Because I don't claim that I have PCOS. I even had like the doctor like test me a second time for PCOS. The second time I got pregnant, she was like, "Oh yeah, your numbers are still the same." I'm like, I rebuke that. I'm
right.
not testing anymore for
right.
PCOS because I believe that I am healed and this is it.
You don't gotta accept the
Yeah,
report.
And
We appreciate it, though.
I think Pastor John said something around that line too, or Pastor Ty. He said, when God healed you, stop looking for the symptoms.
Yeah, that was last year.
That was
Last
last
year.
year fasting.
Yep.
And when he said that, I was like, all right, I don't care what those reports say. I don't have PCOS. And when I'm talking to someone,
You said
I don't
you
say I
had.
have. I say I had. And you've heard me say, I'm like, I had PCOS.
That's right.
You don't own me PCOS. You don't own me. Like this body, no.
Yeah.
No. God created this body. He can snap a finger and heal your body. So don't let doctors like put labels on you.
Right.
Go to your Father. He created you. He knows exactly what your body needs. And ask him, whatever he did for me, your story might be different, but we serve the same God.
Same guy.
Yes.
The testimonies might be different. It's the same God.
Amen.
So I can say today that God did it for me, and I'm going to continue to believe in God, because I don't know why, but like when you've been through something and the human side of you is like
You're
wants to
waiting
kick
for the
in.
shoe to drop.
Oh yeah.
It's been that. And
I have to confess, I dealt with that this time around, and every single time I had to remind myself, like the Bible says, you have to take every thought captive and submit them to the Lord. And that's literally what I've been doing, because I'm like, I refuse to let my doubt get in the way of this blessing.
yeah.
And I think that's the reason why I didn't share my dream with you right when I had it.
And we talked about
because
that.
I
Yeah,
woke
we
up
don't
and
wanna
I
be
told him, I
insensitive.
said,
Yep.
I had a dream about Neff, and she told me that she's pregnant, and I told her not to tell anybody. And he's like, I'm like, should I tell her? He's like, I don't know. You don't want to wake up something that you don't want to like.
Because I was like, she's been through it twice.
Yeah.
Let's
Kind of like,
not-
don't give her
like,
false hope or
let's
something.
keep praying about it, and then
Yeah.
we'll wait.
Man.
Yep.
And that's the thing. We can't even take credit for that, because that conversation was kind of like a faithless conversation.
Yeah.
Kind of, So we can't even say it's because we had faith. That's why it happened.
Well, I wouldn't say it
we
was
didn't lose
faithless.
faith in God,
It
but
had-
it's like the conversation
It
didn't
had
align.
doubts. It had doubts.
Yeah. It was like a doubtful, conversation.
Yeah, which
Again,
is
And I was
because
like,
as much as you went through it, so did we.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're family. When we're all going through something, we all go through it. So I
listen, I cried, bro.
think, yep. And those things are gonna happen.
Because
but
I got
again,
excited. I was excited because I was pregnant as well. And I'm
Yeah.
like, yes,
Yep.
we're going to have a
Plan.
baby,
Have
the
'cause
same
you
years.
also always,
together.
Yeah.
always say you
and I
wanted to be
always
pregnant
wanted to be
together.
pregnant
yeah.
with my sister.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a
Yep.
whole thing. So it was hard, y'all. Like, I'm not gonna sit there and like pretend that it wasn't, because it really was. But at the end of the day, God has his reasons, and God's timing is always perfect. Like, you can't beat that. You cannot beat that. But I am grateful, and I feel like me coming here also was like, I really needed this. And the fact that, to me, I feel like God blessed me with this kid, right? And he has been showing you guys ways to like, help me, because like, even when, like the other day for, your friend's birthday, and he just came and he said, the Lord said for me to pray for you guys. And to me, that was everything that you could have given me, because it's like, that's a perfect gift. That's the perfect thing, because at least, God is thinking of us. And I'm like, that's why after that night, I'm like, you know what? Doubt, you're gonna come in my mind, but you're not gonna dwell. You're not gonna stay there.
Amen.
You're gonna come and go, because I know the God that I serve. And I'm like, I'm not going to be afraid. I'm not going to be scared, because that would be me losing faith in God. No, he blessed me with this kid. And this time around, to be fair, I'm further along than I was the first
Yeah,
first
two
I
times.
was about
yeah.
to say, how,
You know?
how far along are you now?
I'm now 14 weeks, and I
14
already know the
weeks,
sex of my baby. I
you
didn't
go.
have that the first two times.
Yep.
This is the reason why I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna stay grounded, and that's why I'm like, I don't want this pregnancy to make me forget everything that I've
God,
ever prayed for,
yeah.
because if anything, I need my faith to be stronger in God. I need to stay more connected, because we learned about spiritual warfare not too long ago, and it's real, so I cannot just take that blessing and be like, okay, I prayed for this and this is it, I'm done. No, the work begins. Now it's not just about me. So
And we talk, and we're always encouraging her, because we tell her all the time, there are levels to this, and there is. When you're single, that's one level. When you get married, that's a whole different level.
Yeah.
And then once you have kids, that's a whole different level. And the devil knows all these levels, and he's prepared to attack whenever the blessings falls.
I think he's happy when we get
Oh, 100%.
to higher levels, because it's like, this is just giving me different ways
Yep.
to attack.
Yep.
Now you were single, I would just attack you. Now you had a
married.
husband, so I can
Attack both you and your husband.
exactly.
Now you have
you have a
kids,
kid.
I gotta attack all
I
of
can
y'all
take
together.
the
Yep.
whole family out. So
And
if
that's why it's important
Yeah.
to be in unity in Christ. Because if there is 1 weak link,
you will use it.
that's all he needs.
Yeah.
because she could be strong, or your husband can be strong and you're weak, or you're strong and he's weak. He's gonna attack the weak link and try to get to whoever he needs to get to. And if you guys are not connected in the Word, have a relationship with Christ, your faith strong, have that foundation where when the spiritual warfare breaks out, y'all can stand. I mean, you've been on the phone with us.
Yeah.
You know, where we had to stand in this house in our kids' room,
Yeah.
and we had to, call for backup.
Yeah.
Because not that we were weak or anything, but if you have the community, why not, right? So she's experienced the spiritual warfare that we had to fight for one of our daughters.
Yeah.
That's always getting attacked. So we know what that's like. So, and again, everything that we're going through together is a learning for all of us.
Yeah.
Because I could be going through something in this season that later on you're going to go through, but because you've experienced and you have people that's gone through
You're
it,
prepared.
now you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So same thing back and forth. And, you have to see things from a spiritual point of view, and try to really, allow yourself to grow spiritually, because that's all it's all about, right? You can't stay stagnant in your relationship with the Lord, because then what's the point, right? Because God he evolves outside of time, and there's so much to learn that we'll never, ever, 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 ever get to understand and truly know, and because it's too big, you know what I mean? So, yeah. Nothing but God, bro.
Nothing but God.
Ain't nobody gonna take credit for this
And
one.
nobody.
I'm excited.
He's first.
Yeah.
Yes, because my older brother's out here playing. But yeah, man, I'm excited,
I am too.
and you can see the joy, the happiness,
Yeah,
and everything.
That's good.
I'm excited for you, and we thank God for His faithfulness.
Yes.
We thank Him for His sovereignty. We thank Him for all that He is and He continues to do. And no matter what we go through in this life, we can always count on His love for us and compassion and mercy, because He is merciful and compassionate. Yeah. So, she pregnant, yo.
Big
She
pregnant. Yeah.
She preggo, yo. And we're pregnant.
Yeah.
We're
But no,
pregnant.
truly, guys, if I can just tell you guys one last thing before we end this, is that don't trade God's timing for your deadline. It don't matter if you are 35, 45, 55. If God wants you to be blessed with, a little human being or beings growing inside of you, He can do it. There's nothing that is too big for our God. So we're not gonna let society,
Yep. Culture.
pressure us, culture.
Yep.
I wish that in our community they would teach us more about those things, because when you are a believer, you can't let people and their agenda just get the best of you.
Right.
No. You know the word. God have used women that was 90 years old in the Bible that
Yep.
had no period.
Yep.
They got pregnant. So if you are in your youth, and even if you hit menopause, whatever it was, God can use you. God can use your body. So for everybody that's fighting PCOS, fibroids, cysts, polyps, whatever you are facing, know that there is nothing that God cannot do. There's no sickness that is too big for Him to heal. He created your body, So just trust God and trust His timing, because His timing is just perfect. And I am evidence that God answers prayers, because I am, a miracle. This kid is going to be a miracle. And I think that God, from the day I was born, God had a plan for my life. I know.
Definitely. Yep.
Yeah, it's a fact.
Yep.
Because my mom always tells me that the day I was born, the day she left, decided I'm not going to say something told her. God told her to leave the hospital. As soon as she left, what happened? Fire.
Yep.
Burned down.
Yep.
But we escaped. That was 36 years ago.
Yep.
And every time, everything I've been through something, it's been God working on me.
Yep.
And today I can sit here and tell you that God is good. God is faithful. He
Yep.
is faithful, y'all.
Yes, he is.
Like I said, if y'all don't have faith, if you guys are feeling low, if you guys are being discouraged, like whatever it is, if you've been trying for like years and years and years, I know like our stories, our life is different, but if he can do it for me, that is a sinner, he can do it for you. Because I like to believe that some of you spiritually might be higher than I am, but he used me, you know? So this is my story, and if he can do it for me, he can do it for you.
Listen, I always say no one is beyond reach for the Lord.
Yeah.
Because Paul says, I am a chief sinner.
Yeah.
That's what he called himself. You know what I mean? And he was a murderer, literally murdering Christians, for the gospel. And God used him. And there's so many other stories in the Bible. And you're saying you're a miracle because God used you. And sometimes all we, that's why it's important to be in the Word. It's important to be, in relationship, so that way you know what God has done and what he's able to do. Because there's so many women in the Bible that dealt with that, right? Sarah, Rebecca, Samson's mother, right? Hannah, all of, so many people, and God, literally opened the womb.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's God closing it. We may not understand why, right? And sometimes even, and I was having this conversation with you the other day, you're like, that's your biggest what ifs, right? Something like that when we were driving.
Yeah,
where
no,
were we
it
going?
was, when we were going to the movies, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, so I saw like a quote that, somebody had a miscarriage, and that quote says, "You will always be my biggest what if."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to me, and at some point, someone called you, pick up the phone, and I kept talking. I didn't realize you were on the phone. But what came to my mind at that moment, I understand the statement because it is, it could be, you know what I mean? But sometimes though, right? Because we don't know why God does what he does. That what if could have been your biggest reason why you turn away from God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because sometimes we think of the positive, but don't think of the opposite. Because God has a reason why he didn't give you the 2 kids previously. What if the 2 kids came out and they had disorder or they had Down syndrome? And all of a sudden you would have questioned, why would you bless me with a child that is this, right? But in his sovereignty, he knows what you can and can't handle.
Yeah.
And he knows what will drive you away from him. And he cares more about your soul than that baby that you've been seeking.
Absolutely.
That's period.
Yes.
And it's a hard truth to understand, but that's the truth. Because at the end of the day, all of these things are add-ons. Because it says, seek my kingdom first. Then everything will be added to you. Yeah. The house, the cars, the children, the job, the wealth, the health, everything else is add-on. But the priority for him is for you to live with him in eternity. Mm-hmm. So focus on that. And the rest, he will do the rest. And the pain that you're going through, the miscarriages, in your case, the pain, all these things, he knows that. Yeah. But all that will make you a better believer. Yeah. And yours, again, a lot of times we're going through something has nothing to do with you.
With us, yeah.
Couple of years down the road, you can be on a road where you literally have to encourage somebody to get out of that season. Yeah. But how could you do that if you never went through it?
Exactly. Yeah.
How could you do that if you don't have that testimony and that proof that, hey, what I'm telling you, I went through it.
I went through it.
My God is able.
Like. Yes.
So if he can do it for me, he can do it for you. Just focus on him.
Yeah. And that song, "You Are More Than Able," carried me through this journey of my second miscarriage, because
There
I
you go.
remember you shared that with me, and every time that I felt like I would want to give up, I would just
Yeah.
play the song, even if I have nothing to say. I'll just listen to, because, like, who am I to deny what the Lord can do?
And that's the
He
song I
is
played.
more than able.
That's the song I played when we were moving. That
my
night, that night when I was saying bye to my parents, not
Y'all.
understanding anything. I translated it for them to understand.
Yeah.
And I remember standing there in the living room and I said, Dad, I'm gonna let you pray. But before you pray, I'm gonna read, this verse of this song that I've translated, and I'm gonna play the music in the background while you
Yeah.
played. And I recited to them, and I said, who am I?
Yeah.
That the Lord is using me, telling me to move to a whole different state that I don't know anybody, but to use my life for something that I don't even know about. But I'm trusting in the word, and I'm going to be obedient and leave. And I need you guys to know this is the God that I serve. This is the God that you introduced us
Exactly.
to. So you have no choice
Yeah.
than to let me experience Him in
Yeah.
that level.
Yeah.
So it's beautiful to
beautiful
know that
thing.
that same song has been
yeah.
and I shared that with you for a reason.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm grateful.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's been a journey, y'all.
it has been a
It's
journey,
been a journey.
but we're here.
We're here, and the Lord
And I'm about
has
to be an
done
uncle,
it.
yo.
He's about to be a whole uncle.
I'm about to be a whole uncle, and I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Life is, and our family continues to multiply, and man, it's gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
So we, but whoever you are, that is dealing with the same thing. Now you have no reason not to believe. I know it has been hard for you up to this point. I know you have been shedding tears, and I'm here to remind you, and she's here as proof to remind you that those tears, they don't go unnoticed.
Yeah.
Those cries don't go unnoticed, unheard of. God is in it with you.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, He's decided to close your womb. I just want to encourage you to shift your perspective, just like I told her in the second time. Have you thought about that you've been considered? For whatever reason, right? And there's something God is trying to get out of you. For you was spiritual growth,
Yeah.
trust, and knowing the God you serve,
Yeah.
not the medication that could get you there.
Yeah.
For you, it could be something else. So ask God in this season where you're hurting, and this season where whatever you're seeking for is not coming to you. Ask Him, what lesson does He want you to learn in that season?
In that season. And like you said to my friend the other day, you cannot pray your way
You cannot
out
pray
of
your
a
way out of a season. If God says in this season is meant for you to go through for
Yeah.
10 years, you can wake up every day for 365 days for 10 years and fast. You will not
will
get
not
out of
move
it
him.
because that He has a purpose for you to
Yeah.
go through it. So instead of sitting there, right, or instead of wanting to give up, ask Him to guide you through it because He will give you the strength. He will give you the courage. He will give you the desire to get up and walk and keep walking, keep believing, keep having faith.
Yeah.
And if He's holding your hands, if He's the one guiding you, you know you're not going to fail. You know you're going to get there because there's always a destination with God. But you must trust Him.
Yeah.
You must submit to His plan. You must submit to His will. So that's my encouragement for you today.
Yeah.
So anything else you want to say to the people?
Yeah. I mean, it's okay to cry, because there's one of my favorite songs. Like, even sometimes when I don't have no words, I'll just let the tears run. And the song says, tears are a language God understands.
Yeah.
It's okay if you don't have no words, if you feel sad. It's okay to feel all those things, but just keep your eyes on God.
Oh, God.
Keep reading His words, even if you don't understand.
Yep.
Just keep going.
reading.
Because the devil likes to like throw your past or like your trials back at you to like to remind you where's your God. That's when you stand up and you shake yourself up and you like the same God that was there years ago is the same God that's still here today. So, it's I can tell you because I've been through it. It's not easy, but God is with you and you have everything that you could ever need.
Yeah.
God is everything. So
Yeah.
just trust his timing. Just trust him. In the meantime, while you're waiting, build a stronger relationship with him.
Do the
This
work.
season might be preparation for you. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But, sometimes God is testing us. Like, do we really seek him or we just seek him because of the things that he can provide for us? So just, and also be honest with yourself. God cannot fix the things that you fake. If you're hurting, let God knows you're hurting. It's okay. He's your dad. Have conversation with him.
Right.
So for everybody, this journey is going to be different. But if you can learn one thing, if he can do it for me, he can do it for you.
That's right. Well, this brings us to this part of our show. You've been watching the episode, so you should know what this one is about.
Is it the one the title?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Wait, no, wait. Yes, I was gonna ask that. Yes, but also the say it out loud segment. You remember that through Ben's episode?
I kind of do, but I don't remember
I
what it
asked
was.
a set of questions, and you have to answer it saying, "I testify." Blah 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 blah.
Oh my God.
You remember that?
Yes.
This is fun for me.
I don't know if I want to
So
be
I
able to
get
do
it.
it, but I remember his struggle with it. But yes.
Okay. Anyway, so that's the part we're gonna be doing right now. All right, so this is a segment we call "Say It Out Loud." So in this segment, right, you get to say what God has been for you, or what has He done for you through a set of questions. So basically, this is how it goes. Okay, I'll ask a question, right, and then and you will start answering the question by saying, "I testify."
Okay.
Okay, I messed up the first time I had to correct because Ben was like one word. I was like, "That's not what I asked." He's like, "Well, that is what you asked." So I had to rewrite this. Okay, so let's give this a try. All right. One word that describe what or who God has been to you. You starting answering, say, "I testify that God has been blah, blah, blah." Get it? So one word. One word.
I testify
Yep.
God is my healer.
There you go.
There you go.
Don't say I testify in this one. Would you say you're crazy or God is real?
God
Well,
is-
actually, yes, I testify.
I testify that God is real.
Okay. Part 2. Describe your relationship with God in three different words.
That's hard.
Why?
My relationship with him?
Yes. I'm waiting.
He's a good father. Is that a relationship?
Well, yeah, in a sense. But you do whatever comes to you. I ain't gonna help you out at this one.
That's hard. I don't know how to put it into words.
Try.
I am trying. I'm still building that relationship. So, describe your relationship with God.
Okay, so I would say work in progress.
Yeah. So I already gave you 2.
Okay, well, give me a third one.
Okay, so you have loving, you have work in progress.
Work in progress. Yep. One more.
don't know. My mind is not working.
Come on.
I don't know. So, loving work in progress. It's the same thing I was gonna say.
What?
I'm continuing to learn. I don't know.
I'll find a word for that. I'm gonna let you pass and find a word that describe that for you.
My mind is blank. Sorry.
Last one, which you sort of kind of did already. So but I'm gonna give you. Maybe you can make it shorter. What is one advice that you would give to someone listening right now, going through a difficult time?
I would say to them to I had it best on my phone. Hold on. So I would tell them to keep going because people will know that God is real based on the stories or testimonies that they will share.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's a good way to let people know that God is real is by sharing your stories, and they can decide if God is real in your case. If you were crazy or God is real, we all decided that God is real. In my story, God is real.
Well, in my case, I'm both crazy.
Yeah,
and
that
God is-
too. Well, yeah. First thing is you're crazy. Yeah, you're right. But, but yeah, through you, people will know that God is real. So
There you go.
yeah,
And that brings us to a close. Your episode is about to be 2 hours.
the longest.
No,
No one
actually,
can beat that.
Ben was longest.
Ben was longest.
Yeah, his
How
was
long
like
was his?
2 hours and almost 30 or something.
We're gonna stay here for another 11 minutes.
Not you, not you trying to. We hope this was an encouragement to you guys. I've been, excited about this episode. I'm excited about every testimony because it is always wonderful to hear, what God is doing, and I'm always in awe and the different ways that He's working.
Yeah.
And this one hit close for us. It hit home for us. And we're part of it and we're living it, and we're excited for it because we've been through the pain together. I was telling her the other day, like my knees have been hurting for this, so I'm very excited because I have been on my knees for that, and not just only for her, for a lot of people, and I thank God for even when I'm like praying, and He would remind me of someone else that is that I need to pray for that same purpose and stuff like that, and it's beautiful to see. So I'm very excited, and I truly hope whoever you are that is listening, if you have dealt with this or you have been dealing with that and you're going through that, I really hope this had bring you joy and hope to know that there is a God that is at work, that has a greater plan and purpose for your life. Even your pain, He will use for His divine purpose. And all you have to do is trust Him and His timing. That's the most important thing. Trusting His timing. It has nothing to do with your deadline, your timeline, what culture says you should be doing, whatever the case may be. It's all about Him. It's always been and will always be about Him. So if you have made it this far, we want to say thank you for hanging with us. And if you haven't subscribed, we hope that you would consider subscribing. As always, share the video with someone that you know that may be going through something, and hearing this testimony can help them, out of whatever they're going through, to give them hope. And we pray that the Lord will bless you. We pray that His favor will fall on you, and that you'll get to experience the fullness of God's love, mercy, compassion, and sovereignty in your life. So, I'm done. I'm done. But thank you.
I got 10 more minutes.
Thank you for hanging with us on the platform.
Welcome.
Also, she has been one of the biggest blessing in my life that I can testify. about, and also, God has used her in so many ways, to even bless this platform, and I'm very grateful for her. So to me, everything that God has for her, I want to see everything that has her name on it. I want to see it because I know her heart, and I know the God that I serve, and nothing goes unnoticed. God wastes nothing, literally. So again, we hope this was encouragement for you, and yeah, we will see you next time.
Do I get to choose my title?
Oh yes, thank you for reminding me.
People,
I almost
you see
forgot.
this?
If you had, you worked on that. I feel like you
No,
worked on
I
it.
don't. But like as I'm
But
sitting
that
here,
would be great though if you did. That's preparation.
yeah, but like
What would you
no,
name this
it's
episode?
because there's this song that has been my song. I think like when I got pregnant the second time, it has been my song. Like I've been singing it a lot, but I don't know if I should go with that or if we should go like if somebody sees something PCOS related, if they would want to click on it, or like if we should just do something. I don't know.
Do whatever
But
the Lord tells you.
the reason why I wanted this title is because it's been my song and I've been like claiming it. So the title, it's gonna be long. It's not gonna be long,
It
but I
can't be
think
long.
it's not gonna be long. How long can it be? Can it be like a line?
Depends. Let me hear
Okay,
it.
so it'll be like what we've waited for has come to pass. That's not long.
Okay, no, that's not long.
Okay, so what we've waited for, has come to pass.
I,
It was either that or PCOS, you don't own me, or I don't know, but you
I like the
choose.
first one.
What I've waited for has come to pass. See what the Lord has done. Peace.
All right, yo, you heard it. This is Testimony and Blessing Podcast. We'll see you guys next time. Peace. What's up, y'all? If you're a testifier or just someone who rocks with us and this platform has been a blessing and encouraging you in any way, please subscribe to our channel for more contents like this. We encourage you to share our videos and also follow our podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And be sure to give us a follow on our IG and TikTok page at Testimony and Blessings Pod. We love you and we appreciate you. Peace.